Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Empowered Presence. We have yet another wonderful, phenomenal, awesome guest, Miss Sheila Amo. Welcome, Sheila.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. This is going to be another great episode, y'all. So, we're going to be talking a little bit about that corporate world, moving and navigating through corporate as a woman of color, and really talking about how authenticity it can get a little tricky sometimes, right? And so Sheila is our chief style curator, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about her journey navigating corporate, leaving that corporate world behind, and really talking about how she can help other women of color to show up fully, have a strong power of presence, make a great first impression, and really have a signature style based on their authentic self. A little bit more about Sheila. She spent her corporate career helping companies align their leadership, strategy, people, and culture efforts. But after 20 years working in the corporate environment, she decided to take a leap of faith and start an HR consulting practice. One reason she left corporate was because she regularly felt like a square peg in a round hole. Anybody can relate to that? Anyway, she felt compelled to look, act, and be like other people to succeed and to thrive. She was burnt out and emotionally exhausted. And I know for sure this sounds familiar to a lot of people listening today. But this is what fuels her passion for supporting women through style and presence coaching. So she leverages lessons that she's learned in the corporate world to teach women to connect to their inner it girl, harnessing authenticity as a leadership tool and being able to align their presence with their inner brilliance so they can show up unapologetically, speaking my language. And so I am very excited to talk to Sheila today. She has a very powerful story, and what she does is also very powerful. So let's. I'm done. I'm done chit chatting, yapping. Sheila, welcome. How are you doing today?
I am doing well. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
I'm excited to have you today. This is going to be a great, great conversation. So let's start with talking just a little bit about your background in corporate. Like, what 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 did you experience, and what were some of the challenges you faced, and then walk us through that journey a little bit.
Sure. So, my background in corporate was spent as a human resources professional. I often joke and refer to myself as a reformed HR professional. And so I worked in corporate settings. I worked mostly in nonprofit and, varying types of nonprofits, mission-driven organizations, regulating organizations, and organizations that are membership associations, if you will. So, spent my career in that space. And part of what I experienced was not unique to me, though at the time it felt like it. But really, it was, moving in my career, being given, promotions and title changes, but not always being given the authority that went along with that. And so, it was the organization's version of yes, we've got representation in terms of Black women, women of color, but often not getting, as I said, the same level of authority, the same level of latitude that my colleagues who were at the same titling level had. And so, that was hard. It caused me to think it was me, to think that it was something internal to me. It caused me at times to really second guess myself. Um, and part of how that can look for us. Oftentimes, it's not people coming out necessarily saying, oh, well, you can't do this, or, you're not capable of that, but it's discounting your viewpoint, right? It's not including you in decision making. It's also second guessing your decisions, and not privately, because it's not to say that folks can't have different opinions from you, but it's second guessing you in public ways, in ways that feel disrespectful, in ways that feel unnecessary, and in ways that begin to feel like, death by a thousand cuts.
Mm. Wow. You said something towards the beginning that kind of stuck with me, where you said how you felt was not unique to you,
Mm-hmm.
but you felt like it was.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to point out, because this is something that most of us have encountered.
Yes.
And honestly, before I started doing this work and working directly with women of color, I didn't recognize how widespread this thing was. And
Yeah.
we don't recognize it because we haven't been talking about it out publicly,
Yes.
right? And so, podcasts like mine and other podcasts and other creators, or, thought leaders in this space, have now been kind of shining light on this topic. But this is not a one-off case.
No, not at all. Not at all. And so what you find is that, we tend to speak to our close friends about these situations, and they may or may not be experiencing the same thing, but we're not speaking in community. And so podcasts like yours, networking communities, they allow us to be in community with one another and really share our stories, recognize that we're not alone, recognize that we're not necessarily unicorns, and how we're feeling, and that there's validity to
Right.
our feelings and validity to our experiences. And so it allows us to get the kind of support we need and want in order for us, to make decisions about whether we continue to move in the corporate space or if we decide to do our own thing.
Yeah, I love that. Speaking of deciding to do our own thing,
Yeah.
that's what you're doing now, right? Your own thing. So tell us a little bit about how you got from HR
Mhm.
into chief style curator.
Yes. So full and fair disclosure, right?
Yeah.
I've got two things kind of going on. So I consult business to business, and then I also consult business to client, right? And that's where my style and presence work happens, directly with women, directly with women leaders or entrepreneurs, folks who are looking to expand their aperture and move ahead in their careers. And then on the business to business side, I do a little bit of what I used to do before, but really the way that I work with businesses is all about authentic leadership. And so there's coaching around that. It's also around culture and the employee experience, right? So optimizing those experiences so that leaders can create the sort of workplaces that employees want to be in, because we understand that there's a different mandate post-COVID. But with the clients directly and my support of women, I am working as a coach. And so that is all about leadership presence, and that is all about style. And so you said it at the top of the discussion, right? Helping women to have their outer presentation match their inner brilliance. And so some of that is all about style, and because some women feel like, okay, I've got it covered. I've got these things covered, right? Substantively. But I do need help with the style aspect. And so for some women, it's just about style. But for some women, it's all of the things kind of wrapped in together in terms of leadership presence. So that is kind of expertise versus impact, and exploring the foundations of presence. It's also the nexus point between authenticity and leadership, and really kind of cultivating that and understanding that, so that it can help you elevate your impact as a leader. It's also about strengthening your leadership presence. So I help women to address and deal with imposter syndrome or imposter phenomenon. I also help women to understand their value proposition, right? And so if you don't understand what you bring to the table, you can't fully articulate that. You can't brand yourself, right? And then determining the fundamentals of your leadership narrative and understanding the importance of leader as coach and leader as mentor. And then I help women also to understand the value in communication and connection. And so cultivating relationships, building your network, and then using the tools of storytelling as a way to help you move ahead in your career. And then there's the style piece, right? So how do you show up? What are you deciding to wear? What does your presence and how you look say about you before you even open your mouth? And then you can't do all that without tackling self-care
Mm.
and addressing self-care, because as Black women, we are oftentimes, we buy in, we've bought into this trope of the superwoman, right? The strong Black woman. And we so often do things and pour into other people without recognizing the importance of pouring into ourselves, having compassion for ourselves and our needs.
Wow. Ooh, he said a lot there. So yeah, no, this is great. So let's go back
Yeah.
a little bit, because I do personal branding. I'm a personal
Mhm.
branding consultant for women of color, and so much of what you said is branding,
Yeah.
right? You talked about being able to articulate your value proposition,
Yes.
right? You talked about being able to identify the impact you want to make. Like, all of these things are things that I teach my clients. And
Hmm.
it's so funny because we do this similar work, but you're you and I'm me,
Yeah.
right? And you're
Yeah.
doing it through the more of the lens of style. Like,
Yeah.
I don't touch on that. I might have to send some of my people over to your way, because I don't touch on, like, really the physical presence.
Right.
Like,
How you show.
how you do your hair, what lip
Yeah.
shade, I don't really, I'm nowhere near an expert on that stuff. I think I could put myself together quite nicely, not
Yeah.
necessarily today, but it's just not my area. And so
Yeah.
I love that you are intertwining, because when you think style, you think, oh, we're gonna go shopping, we're gonna buy some blazers, and it'll be cute. But,
Yeah.
like, you're doing deep work.
Yes. Yes. And that's why I talk about, matching the outer presentation with the inner brilliance, because it's not just, okay, what shoe are you wearing today, or what jacket did you choose, right? The psychology of style is a real thing, and it really can help you kind of straighten your back, put your shoulders back, poke your chest out. It can help you feel good. It can help you feel confident. And so there's value in understanding that. And so,
Mhm.
yes, when you are able to put something on that makes you feel confident, for me, it's a bold red lip, right? I feel like I can conquer the world when I have on a red lip. And so it helps me kind of perk up a little bit. It does something to you internally so that you can show up in a different way. And so when I talk about, presence and how you show up, it's about taking up space, as we talked about. Do you take up space or do you shrink? Do you shine or do you diminish your light? Do you own your decisions or do you justify your existence and kind of, only lead by consensus? And so these are real things that style impacts. And we don't realize the extent to which they do until you actually start doing the inner work. And so, yes, you are a brand expert. And I don't fully tackle branding, right? But I do tackle, doing that inner work so that you can show up in ways that you feel comfortable being seen. Because sometimes people stay away from style and people play themselves down because they're not comfortable being seen.
Right. That is that. And that is so important because I know for me and my clients, that's the first thing we tackle
Yeah.
is the power of visibility is the name of the module. And it's basically like, why haven't you been showing up so far? What have you bought into that made you feel like you would prefer to just stay in the, in the background or not tell your story or not show up or not share your ideas or whatever?
Yeah.
And that's the first step because no matter what, like, I'm sure no matter what you say, okay, wear this, put this on, you're going to look great. If they don't already have the belief,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
don't matter what we talking about. I could be like, all right, you need to post this.
Yeah.
If they're still trying to hide,
Yeah.
it's not going to do anything. It's not going to work. And so I absolutely love that you are able to dig deeper, right?
Yeah, because
Because
you have to. You
yeah.
have to dig deeper. You have to address kind of those unconscious contracts that we have with ourselves, the things that we've been telling ourselves for years, whether we realize it or not, right? Some of these things we know we've told ourselves, but some of these things, like I said, are unconscious contracts that we are operating under. And so part of the work that I do around coaching women is really to identify what those are and to begin to unpack them so that you can experience shifts in your perspectives, shifts in how, what you say to yourself is available to you.
Mhm. Love it. Love it. Gotta dig deep. As I always say, surface won't suffice.
Exactly. That's a great mantra. That is a great mantra.
Surface will suffice. I love it. So, how did you get it? I mean, were you always kind of like a stylista, fashionista? Like, how did you end up saying, oh, you know what, from HR, I'm gonna go help people show up and be fabulous? How did it?
Yeah, yeah. So I will say this. I mean, style was always my jam, right? I loved style as a kid growing up. And I would always be willing to take risks around style and to do what I thought was right for me. And so I guess I would say I always had a voice around style. And it was something that it was an area where I was really, really comfortable. And so even like my friends would say, oh my gosh, are you doing that? Yep, I'm doing that. That's exactly what I'm doing. And I'm okay with it, right? And don't get me wrong, because it's trial and error. It's understanding what's right for your body. It's some of it is trends, but I don't always follow trends. More than anything, I would say that my style choices are eclectic, right? I think that I'm pretty feminine, but I also like an edge. Sometimes I like to do a little bit too much, and that's okay too. And so I help women to figure that out for themselves. What looks good on you and what looks good for your body shape and your body type, right? You can't just do things just because it's what's popular. You've got to figure out what works for you and what makes you feel good and feel soft and feel pretty and feel confident and credible. Whatever it is you're going for, that's how you should be dressing yourself.
I love this. So this is a great segue because I was going to ask you next more about like that authenticity piece and the
Mhm.
balance between, being work appropriate, quote
Mhm.
unquote, and showing up how you feel best,
Yeah.
right? So I know a lot of people, they just want to be comfortable. Like my son, he don't give a damn about none of that. He just trying to wear sweatpants everywhere. All
Yeah.
he wants to wear is sweatpants, Toms, and those little rubber things.
The Crocs.
Rocks.
Okay.
That's it. And it's like, you're gonna have to like we're going to a party. Hey jeans, it's so uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I'm giving an example for my son. He's 11, but like for grown people, I feel like we all have our little. Oh, I like me. I'm not a fan of jeans either, to be
Mhm.
honest. Like
Mhm.
unless they're super stretchy, like they get on my nerves. It's like,
Mhm.
and so how do you go about helping your clients figure out what is unique, I mean, authentic to them, but also what is appropriate for the environments that they want to be able to have influence?
Sure. So I think that's a great question. Part of what I do with clients is it's a fairly lengthy intake, right? And so I don't want to dress anyone the way that I dress, right? I'm not interested in making mini me's. And so what I like to do with clients is learn about them, right? Learn about their lifestyle, learn about whether they are active and on the go, whether they, are more upscale and constantly going to formal, semi formal events. I like to understand kind of where they are in life and what are the things that they engage in. And so we allow that to really be a guide for how we tackle style. And so when you talk about authenticity, and I don't know if my view on this is unique or not, but it is influenced by the fact that I was an HR professional, right? So authenticity is about tapping into you and what is important to you, right? Your values, the things that drive you, the things that shape you character wise, right? And authenticity is really important because oftentimes in life we spend so much time trying to be like the next person. And we can't be as good as the next person at trying to be like them, but we can be our best selves, right? There's no one else like us, right? Individually. And so authenticity means subscribing to who you are and living in alignment with your values. It doesn't mean being reckless and not, following the rules, right? And so, in a work environment, sometimes you can't wear a crop top. You can't wear when we first came to the workplace, and I'm dating myself, I could not wear open toe shoes. And so things have changed and evolved. And so authenticity means being true to who you are, but it doesn't mean that there aren't guidelines or guide rails to follow about a particular event. So if you are going to a formal, right, you're not going to show up in flip flops, right? Because that is antithetical to a formal environment, right? But it doesn't mean you have to be in a ball gown. You could be in something that's sequin, that's a jumpsuit. You could be in a mini dress that is appropriately fashioned for a formal event. And so it's all about being creative, right? And finding creative ways to meet the moment.
Mm, I love that. Okay, yeah. And I totally agree with you on your definition of authenticity, by the way. So I like to define it very similar to yours. It's basically when, for me, your values, your desires, your thoughts, your actions all line up,
All aligned. Yes. Yes.
pretty
Because
much.
once you know your values, then the things that you are doing and the ways of being should align with that, right? And so you should not be doing things, your goal should align with those values. You should not be doing things that's going to take you out of who you see yourself as, right?
Yeah.
And the things you want to accomplish, because then you're just wasting time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I have a interesting take on that too, because I've had someone ask me before, I am not a people person. I don't want to talk to people, but I feel like I'm being forced, like I need to be networking and doing all this. Like, is that a part of me stepping outside of my authentic self?
Mm.
And so I told her basically, I don't think it's necessarily about your authentic self. I think it's about understanding your strengths and understanding the areas in which you're not really that strong. If you're not a people person, then you don't have to go and talk to the whole room, but you may miss opportunities if you stay home. So why
Absolutely.
not, just so it was like basically that balance again. Everything I keep coming back to balance. It's like that is not, because what value does that conflict with, right? I
Yeah.
don't like to talk to people. It's
Yeah.
not really a value tied
I
to that.
value.
That
Yes.
that that's your comfort zone.
I was gonna I was gonna say to some people that might conflict with the value of being comfortable,
Mm,
right?
yes,
So, and what I would say about that is change, whether for the good or bad, change requires discomfort. I mean, those things operate synergistically, right? And so if you want to grow, if you want to do new things, if you want to accomplish new things, that's going to require change, and that's going to require leaving your comfort zone. And so, if you come out of your comfort zone, then that's when you can employ self compassion, right? Once that's done, okay, I come back to my comfort zone and I think about what are the things that I need and how can I give myself that care and feeding in this moment? Because while it may seem on this, I can talk and I really can talk, but I am an introvert. So, I have to challenge myself all the time to come out of my comfort zone because it's the things that I want, the places I want to go, the people I want to meet, they're not going to necessarily come to my comfort zone. It won't be that easy.
that's right. I love that we're kind of segueing into this discussion because I'm also a huge introvert. I just put a post about this up last week. And it's like people be like, "You what?
Right.
No, I would have never known." You're damn right, because I got goals, I got stuff I'm trying to do, so I had to basically kind of train myself. Now, don't you can't throw me to the wolves without me preparing and be like, "Hey, go network." Oh no,
Absolutely.
no, ma'am, it ain't happening. I have to prepare. I have to mentally get myself together, knowing I'm about to go into this room full of all these people sucking my energy.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Because as introverts, people take our
Drain
energy
you.
and we
Yeah.
need to go back and retreat alone to re-up. And
Yes.
so recognizing that, it was like, okay, cool. I'll go speak at this conference. Everybody gonna come talking to me afterwards.
Hmm.
I'm done. I ain't gonna
Yes.
see Mel for the rest of the day. She in the telly, she in the room because it's just too much.
Yeah. You have to go
Right?
inward. Yes.
Yeah, it's just too much. And so, you know, not if you don't know and understand that, right? Then you're just like, "Oh, I can't talk to people.
Yeah.
I'm just this just doesn't align with me and what I like, and so I'm not doing it."
Yeah.
That's why you gotta dig deeper and understand what is that? What is that? Because introversion doesn't mean shy.
Exactly.
And I think
Exactly.
that's where people feel like when I say I'm introverted, they think, "Oh, you're shy." No.
It's the energy source,
Yeah.
right? It's the energy source, and it's about understanding how to utilize energy and how it impacts you, right?
Right.
And so the extroverts in the room, they are jazzed by all that interaction and all that. Yeah, and sometimes I can be, but it takes a lot from me.
Right. Takes a
Yeah.
lot from me. Exactly. Awesome. Okay, so I wanna know a little bit about your, I guess when it comes to for me, when I think about branding and showing up and things like that, it's about how you feel, but it's also about how you want to make other people feel.
Mhm.
So do you guys touch on that? And as you know, when you work with clients, like, do you think about like, okay, how is this going to make people feel?
Yes.
Because I've been called intimidating, I got resting bitch face, all these things. And so I've been told I'm not approachable, all this stuff. And
Mhm.
it's like, knowing that about yourself, how would you kind of navigate that where with your wardrobe choices and, is there anything there as it relates to how people take you in and make how they feel as a result of you showing up fully?
Sure. So when I work with clients and we deal with presence, we talk about, because this is one of the things that you often hear in corporate America, right? You're great, you know your stuff, but you don't have executive presence, right? And executive presence is oftentimes used as a tool to keep people out. It's used as a barrier. And
Mm,
so executive presence is one of those things where you hear it talked about a lot, but you don't always hear it defined, right?
right.
It's kind of this indescribable, elusive, oh, I know it when I see it kind of thing. And so, what I do is I demystify that with clients and help them understand what presence is all about. And I don't call it executive presence, I call it presence or leadership presence, because you don't have to be an executive, right? If you're on your way to being an executive, you're a leader in your own right. We all lead within our personal lives, right? And so I call it presence. And when I break down presence, I talk about a few components. One of those components is about purpose, right? And we've touched on that. Another component is substantive knowledge, right? So that's having the goods, knowing your stuff, doing your research, as you said, preparing so that you are ready and don't have to get ready. And then the other piece of that, which we talked about too, is energy, right? And so it's all about engaging authentically and operating from a place of ease and really, you used the word earlier, balance, right? And so it's really about balancing kind of how you show up, but also your ability to read the room and see how you're impacting people and see what the faces are doing, or see if there's someone who maybe is shy and you don't call them out in a meeting, but you follow up with them afterwards to see, hey, I thought, maybe you wanted to engage in there, and things might have gotten a little, loud or raucous or whatever the case, but I'm open if you have ideas or if you want to talk through something. And so for me, that energy is, it's about being adept at social awareness, but also at relationship management. And so while this doesn't necessarily, I don't think these things are necessarily addressed in or kind of mitigated by what you wear. What I can say is, when you are comfortable in these spaces and you fully understand these three components of presence, they help you. They help you in relationship management. They help you connect with people, and they help you create safe spaces for other people. And so that impacts how you are able to show up and your ability to get people to kind of follow you, right? And your ability to influence and impact other people. And so I wouldn't say what you wear necessarily is going to soften what someone thinks about you, right? You should wear what you wear. You should wear what you feel comfortable with. But I would break down these other pieces of presence for you to address that specifically, right? And so if you've been told, I have resting bitch face, then the thing to do is you have awareness about this, right? And so it's not to necessarily change who you are or what your face looks like, because you can't instantly become a cheerleader, but it's so that you're aware. And once you're aware, like, that's the first step in knowing, right? So then you can talk to yourself and say, okay, what's my face doing right now?
Right.
How can I work on a poker face, right? What are the elements behind that? And so it's not to so that it changes you into a Pollyanna. It's honoring who you are and how you show up, but also being aware of what that might be perceived as by other people and giving you some tips and tools to address it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Nice. Um, what would you say to those people who just want to wear black, like no color, just give me some basic black, I'm good.
Well, I mean, so I would explore that, right? So what is that about? Is that about you trying to hide in black because we know black is the forgiving color? Black hides a multitude of sins, right? So those eating sins or the lack of movement sins or whatever you want to say. So I would explore that with my clients and just understand. Or maybe they think of black as the power color, and that's just what they want to wear. They feel strong in black, and if they feel strong in it, then we go with that, right? If it is about hiding something, then let's explore that. Let's figure out if there is an unconscious contract there. Let's figure out if there is more to the emotions that belie why you always want to be in black.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Love that.
oftentimes there is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if we can explore that and kind of unpack that a little bit, then I think they feel there's some level of freedom they get, right? And then they might feel a little more comfortable saying, okay, well, let me add a pop of color, right? Let me add a pin, right? A lapel, I'm pointing to the wrong direction, a lapel pin, right? Let me do something that may give me a little color, and I'll start in baby steps, and that's okay.
Yes, I love that. I guess I kind of thought about that because I had a client, and remember, I don't do nothing about fashion, child. So I had a client, and through our work together, she really came into herself, like really honoring who she is and really recognizing, her strengths. And part of that on her own development was recognizing like she actually loved wearing colors.
Hmm.
So she started wearing more brighter colors.
Okay.
And so it was like a byproduct of our work
Over
together.
time.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So, just thought about her as you were talking as it relates to just, picking how you pick your clothes and
Yeah.
right because I
Go
don't
ahead.
think she necessarily was wearing black all the time, but
Hmm.
the safe colors, right? The
Sure.
nudes, the
The neutral.
blues,
Yeah.
the blacks, maybe a
Yeah.
brown, but like pink and yellow and orange. Nah.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes, I feel like we can have blockages, right? So we can be in a work environment that blocks us, that doesn't inspire us, where we feel kind of put upon, and it shows up not just in our attitude or how we interact with people, but it shows up in how we dress and the choices we make, right? And then sometimes you can come out of that and feel like, oh my gosh, like what have I been doing? I've been wearing only black, and you don't even realize it, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, sometimes we have emotional blockages. Sometimes it's about the environment, so it's a physical block, and it takes that external person to help us kind of work through some things
Yeah.
for us to realize one, I didn't know I was doing that, right? So it was unconscious. Or two, there's a reason for why I was doing it. And let's address that and let's kind of free that space.
Mhm. Yeah. Love that. Um, so do you do styling for photo shoots, like branding
I
shoots?
do. Yes,
Okay.
I do. So In terms of the different things I offer, there are a few things. I do kind of helping people to assess what's in their closet, get rid of things that no longer serve them, keep things they love, refurbish things like, and I don't do the refurbishing, but help them to figure those things out. Help that I do like body shape assessment so that folks understand one, what they're working with, and two, what are the best silhouettes to put on your shape and size, right? And I also, in this work, it's not just about, oh, I look this way or I feel this way and I'm not happy with myself, but I help people to understand and appreciate the body they have, the body they live in right now, right? And it's okay to want to make improvements or changes. That's fine. But you got up today. Your body did something that you might take for granted that not everybody has access to. And so let's develop an appreciation for ourselves. Let's love on ourselves. And let's develop a love relationship with ourselves.
I
And
love that.
so I do, the wardrobe edits. I do styling folks for appearances, television appearances. If folks are doing their website, so you've got people who are offering services and business for themselves and they want to be styled for their photo shoot for their website, I do that as well. Professional photo shoots for work headshots and things like that, I do. And if folks have special events they're attending, I work with them on that. And then one of the other things I do are kind of the milestone makeovers. So if you've got, you're turning 40, you're turning 50, you're turning 60, or if you've been a mom and you're now working into your empty nest phase and you want a closet edit, a wardrobe edit, I'm your person for that. We can get you right and tight, get you figured out. If you want to focus on work only, we can do that. If you want to focus on socialite activities, brunching with the girls, I do that as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So,
Yeah.
if you had to talk about that inner it girl, right? Run us down how you can show up as the inner it girl in a nutshell, just to close us out.
Yes. So the inner it girl is the girl who moves through her space with audacity, right? She's the girl who knows she belongs. And so in my opinion, what has to happen for that inner girl to be in that right headspace, you got to do some inner work. You got to do some inner work. It starts with you. And so I believe in mantras. I believe in positive affirmations and telling yourself, who you are, right? Figuring that out and telling yourself who you are and that you belong, right? And operating from that space. Fly style is available to everyone, no matter what size you are, no matter what shape you are. It's just about figuring out those things and what works best for you. And it's also about developing the confidence so that you can pull it off. Because if you got the outfit on and you're walking around and your head is down and you're pulling on yourself, and then that reads as not confident. That reads as I'm not owning my space. That reads as I don't know if I really belong here, right? You got to show up confident in your own skin, and that starts from within. That starts with you affirming yourself and not looking for that external validation.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, y'all. That was the episode. So if you wanna, Sheila, tell us before we close,
Yeah.
how can people connect with you?
Absolutely. You can connect with me on my website, SheilaAmo.com. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. That's Sheila Amo and the Perry Perspective. Those are my LinkedIn handles. So they both feed to each other. You can also connect with me for style inspiration on Instagram at Sheila Amo Style. And so, and TikTok, Sheila Amo Style there as well.
Awesome. You got TikTok? I can't wait to go see your TikTok. I love TikTok.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. I am, I'm claiming these things now. I've had the website for some time, but yeah, the social, especially TikTok, it is a work in progress, and I have to rely on my sons who are 21 and 25 to help me
Yeah.
manage those social platforms.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
awesome. Listen, guys, if you are looking to elevate your style, if you're in leadership and you feel like you want to have a stronger presence, if you got a photo shoot coming up and you want to make sure it accentuates who you are, if you want to be
absolutely.
able to showcase your authenticity through your outward appearance, if you want to make sure that inner it girl is represented, get with Sheila.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Get with Sheila, okay? Get with her
I'm
and
your girl.
really, yes, just help her. She'll help you transform into that it girl. Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Sheila. This was amazing. You have so much perspective. You gave so many gems. I love what you're doing, especially in our community. It is much needed. And so I want to say thank you for spending the time with us today. Appreciate you for that.
Yeah.
Um, if you enjoyed this episode, if you're listening or watching us, please support the podcast. Just subscribe, leave a review, leave a rating, and remember, this is all about having an empowered presence. Empowered is the authority to do something, and presence is just the state of fact of existing. So you are already powerful. Stand in who you are. Until next time, folks, happy self marketing.